A blissful beginning. Scene, a blissful beginning. Setting, a beautifully decorated garden, glowing with fairy lights and laughter. The soft sound of music floats in the air. Guests mingle with glasses of wine, while a long table adorned with flowers and candles sits at the center. It was a night carved out of a dream. The garden shimmered under the golden glow of hanging lanterns, and the soft hum of conversation mixed with the notes of a distant violin. The air carried the warmth of joy, love, and years of memories. Maya, dressed in an elegant navy blue gown, stood hand in hand with her husband, Rayan, near the head of the table. They had just toasted to 10 years of marriage, 10 years of laughter, growth, and what seemed like unshakable devotion. As Maya looked around at the smiling faces of friends and family, her heart swelled with gratitude. Rayan leaned in and whispered, "I still can't believe you said yes to me." She laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I still can't believe you remembered our anniversary this time." He grinned. "Hey, once in a decade, right?" They clinked their glasses again and turned to their guests. Maya's sister, Syra, stood and raised her glass. To Maya and Rayan, a couple who proves that love, patience, and a lot of takeout can keep a marriage alive. Laughter erupted around the table. Maya felt a sense of completeness. This was what she had always dreamed of. Her parents smiled proudly from across the table, while Rayan's younger brother, Adil, snapped candid photos on his phone, documenting every perfect second. Later that evening, after the speeches and the dancing, Rayan pulled Maya aside into a quiet corner of the garden. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Maya, I know we said no gifts," he began, "but I saw this and thought it matched the light in your eyes." She opened the box to reveal a delicate gold bracelet, studded with tiny sapphire stones, her birthstone. Tears welled up in her eyes as she clasped the bracelet around her wrist. "You always know exactly what to say." "No," he replied, pulling her into a gentle embrace. "I just know how lucky I am." They stood there in silence, the world melting away, wrapped in each other's arms. The night, the stars, the laughter, it all felt eternal. Little did they know this moment of bliss was hanging on a fragile thread, and the truth, buried deep beneath layers of love and time, was about to surface. An unexpected letter. Scene, an unexpected letter. Setting, the morning after the anniversary party. The kitchen is quiet. Sunlight pours through the window as Maya sips her coffee, surrounded by fading balloons and leftover cake. Maya stood at the kitchen counter, gently stirring her coffee, still basking in the warmth of the previous night. Her fingers toyed with the gold bracelet on her wrist, a gift from Rayan. A soft smile played on her lips as she glanced at the photos on her phone from the celebration. It had been perfect. Just then, the doorbell rang. She padded to the front door in her slippers, expecting a delivery or perhaps a neighbor returning a borrowed dish. Instead, there was no one, just a plain white envelope lying on the doormat. There was no name, no address. Only one word written in neat, unfamiliar handwriting. Maya. Her brow furrowed. Curious, she picked it up and stepped back inside, closing the door behind her. She sat on the couch, peeled the flap open, and unfolded the single sheet of paper inside. As she read, the warmth drained from her face. "Dear Maya, you don't know me, but you need to know the truth. Your husband isn't who you think he is. 10 years ago, before you married him, he left someone behind. Someone who needed him. He never looked back. Ask him about Lena. Ask him what happened in Lahore. You deserve the truth. A friend." Maya stared at the letter, her heart pounding. The words were simple, but each one struck like a blade. Lena? Lahore? She had never heard Rayan mention either. Her hands trembled slightly as she reread the note. She looked up, instinctively expecting him to walk through the door, smiling, joking, maybe teasing her about her morning hair. But he wasn't there. He had left early for a meeting. Her thoughts spiraled. What is this? A cruel prank? Someone trying to ruin our happiness? But something inside her, a quiet, cold doubt, whispered that this wasn't a lie. Not completely. Rayan had always been charming, but private. She'd asked about his life before they met, his past, his friends in Lahore, but he'd always brushed it off. Nothing worth talking about, he had said once with a shrug. Now the silence seemed louder, heavy. Maya folded the letter carefully, placing it back in the envelope. She glanced around the house, the same walls, the same memories, but suddenly everything felt unfamiliar. Fragile. The bliss of the anniversary had vanished, replaced by a storm of suspicion and fear. She looked at her phone, her finger hovering over Rayan's contact. She didn't call. Not yet. Confrontation and denial. Scene: confrontation and denial. Setting: evening inside the couple's living room. The soft hum of the TV plays in the background. Maya sits on the couch, the unopened envelope resting on the coffee table. The tension is thick. The door clicked open. Rayan walked in, loosening his tie and smiling as he spotted Maya. "Hey, love," he said, leaning in to kiss her forehead. She didn't move. He paused. "Everything okay?" Maya stared at the TV, then slowly turned to him. "I got a letter today." His brow furrowed. "A letter?" She picked up the envelope and held it out without a word. Rayan took it with casual curiosity, but as his eyes scanned the page, his expression changed. His jaw clenched slightly, just enough for her to notice. He folded the letter and placed it on the table. "This is ridiculous," he said carefully. Maya's eyes didn't blink. "So it's not true?" He met her gaze. "Of course not. Someone's trying to mess with you, with us." She leaned forward. "Then tell me who Lena is, and why someone would mention Lahore." Rayan hesitated, then gave a short laugh. "You seriously believe this? After everything we've been through?" "I don't know what to believe," she said, voice shaking. "You've never talked about your life before me. Not really. Maybe because you were hiding something." His smile faltered. "Maya, listen. This is clearly someone with a grudge, probably jealous of us or trying to stir trouble. You think I'd lie to you about something like this? After 10 years? "I think," she said quietly, "you're very good at pretending." He stepped closer, softening his voice. "I have never lied to you. I love you. You're my wife, my whole life. This letter, this nonsense is beneath us. Let's just throw it away." But she pulled back. "You didn't answer me." "What do you want me to say?" he snapped, suddenly louder. "That I knew a girl named Lena 10 years ago? That we maybe dated? Fine, but I don't know what this letter is talking about. I didn't leave anyone behind." His eyes pleaded, but Maya wasn't swayed. "You didn't mention her once in all these years, not even in passing. You expect me to believe that's normal?" Rayan took a breath, visibly collecting himself. "Sometimes people from your past want to poison your present. Whoever sent that letter wants to break us. Don't let them." She looked at him long and hard, then stood up. "I'm not throwing it away. Not until I know the truth." A silence stretched between them, thick, uncertain. "Fine," Rayan said, his voice low. "If that's how little you trust me, do what you need to do." He turned and walked into the bedroom, closing the door softly behind him. Maya stood there alone, the letter still on the table, her heart thundering with questions. Flashbacks and doubts. Scene, flashbacks and doubts. Setting, the next day. Maya sits alone in the study, the envelope in her lap. Her thoughts spiral as memories resurface, reshaping themselves through a new, darker lens. The morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, but it brought no warmth. Maya sat on the edge of the couch, the letter crumpled slightly in her hand, as if pressing it might somehow squeeze the truth from its silence. Her mind kept returning to the name, Lena, a ghost that had never been mentioned, but now haunted everything. She closed her eyes, trying to remember. And then, a flicker. Flashback. 7 years ago. Rayan quickly silencing a call on his phone. Maya noticed the screen for a split second. Lena, L, before it disappeared. Wrong number, he said casually, slipping the phone into his pocket. Old client. She had believed him then. Back in the present, Maya's chest tightened. Another memory surfaced, uninvited. Flashback. Just after their engagement, they had planned a trip to Lahore together. Maya had always wanted to see his childhood home, but days before the trip, he canceled. Something came up at work, he'd said. Next time, I promise. They never rescheduled. She had brushed it off. Life got busy. But now, the pieces felt like fragments of a puzzle she never realized existed. And then, another flicker. Flashback. A heated argument, long forgotten. Maya had teased him about how secretive he was about his past. He'd gone unusually quiet. You wouldn't understand, he had whispered. Some things are better left buried. She had thought he was just being dramatic. But now, every silence screamed louder. Maya stood up, pacing. The more she thought, the more she realized how little she knew about those years before her. Rayan had always been charming, attentive, reliable, but he had also built walls, and she had mistaken those walls for mystery, not concealment. She opened his old desk drawer, searching, not out of paranoia, out of desperation. A few receipts, loose papers, passport copies, nothing unusual. But then her fingers brushed a small black leather notebook, half tucked beneath a pile of folders. She opened it. Inside were scribbles, old notes, contact numbers. Most were familiar, but on the third page, one stood out. Lena Khan, plus 92,300,000, Lahore. Maya froze. Her hands trembled as she closed the notebook. The name wasn't just real. She had once mattered enough to be written down. She put the book back exactly as she'd found it, her heart pounding. The doubt had now taken root, and it wasn't going away. That evening, Rayan returned home, acting as if nothing had changed. But to Maya, everything had. His smile no longer calmed her. His words no longer convinced her. And his silences, they terrified her. A friend's confession. Scene, a friend's confession setting. A quiet cafe in the late afternoon. Maya sits across from her best friend, Syra, nursing a cold cup of coffee. Her expression is tight, eyes restless. Syra senses something is wrong. Syra stirred her cappuccino, watching Maya across the table with concern. You've barely said a word since you called me. What's going on? Maya looked around the nearly empty cafe before leaning in. She slid the envelope across the table. Read it. Syra opened the letter slowly. Her eyes moved line by line, and by the time she finished, her hand trembled just slightly. She closed the letter and looked at Maya, guilt blooming in her expression. You knew, Maya whispered. Didn't you? Sarah didn't answer right away. She glanced down at her cup. I didn't know everything, but yes, I knew about Lena. Maya recoiled as if slapped. And you never told me? All these years? I wanted to, Cyrus said, voice cracking. But I didn't know how. And after you married him, I thought, maybe it was in the past. Maybe it wouldn't matter anymore. Maya's breath caught. You don't get to decide what matters in my marriage. Syra nodded, ashamed. I know, and I'm sorry. Who is she? Maya asked, desperate. What happened between them? Syra hesitated, then spoke carefully. She was Rayan's girlfriend. Back when he lived in Lahore, they were serious. Everyone thought they'd get married. Then why didn't they? There was a lot of drama, family disapproval, secrets. One day, Rayan just left. No goodbye, nothing. Lena was devastated. And then, she found out she was pregnant. Maya's hands went cold. He has a child? I don't know, Sarah said quickly. I only heard rumors. No one ever confirmed anything. But I remember hearing that Lena tried to reach him. He never responded. Maya felt the air leave her lungs. "Why didn't you tell me this before I married him?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. "Because I saw how happy he made you," Syra said. "I thought he'd changed. He looked at you like you were his entire world. I truly believed he left all that behind." Maya stood abruptly, her chair scraping the floor. Her eyes burned, not just from betrayal, but from the weight of everything she didn't know about the man she'd spent a decade with. "I trusted you," she said. "And now I don't know who to be angrier with, him or you." Syra stood too, reaching out. "Maya, please, I didn't want to hurt you." Maya pulled back. "Well, you did." Without another word, she turned and walked out of the cafe. The world outside felt louder, harsher. Her perfect life, once polished and secure, was now cracking beneath her feet, and even the people she thought she could rely on had helped keep the secret buried. The hidden truth revealed. Scene: the hidden truth revealed. Setting: late at night. The house is dimly lit. Maya sits alone in the living room, staring blankly at the floor. The silence is tense, broken only by the ticking wall clock. Rayan enters, sensing the storm waiting for him. Rayan paused in the doorway, eyes narrowing as he saw Maya sitting stiffly on the couch. "You're still up?" he asked gently. Maya looked up at him, no anger, just exhaustion. "We need to talk, and this time I want the truth, all of it." He hesitated. "This again?" "No more games, Rayan. No more vague answers. I spoke to Syra." He froze. "She told me about Lena," Maya said quietly. "And the child. Did you really think I'd never find out?" Rayan's face twitched, the mask slipping. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, finally, he sat across from her and let out a slow, heavy breath. "I never wanted you to find out like this." "Then how did you want me to find out? Never?" she asked bitterly. He looked away. Her name was Lena Khan. We were together for 3 years. I loved her, once, but things got complicated. Her family didn't approve. Mine didn't either. There were fights, pressure. I was young and weak, so I ran. I left. Maya's voice cracked. "And the child?" Rayan's jaw clenched. "I didn't know. Not for sure. A few months after I moved here, I got a message from a mutual friend, said Lena had given birth. A girl. But by then, I had already started building a life here, with you." "You had a daughter," Maya whispered, "and you just walked away?" "I didn't know what to do," he admitted. "I told myself it might not even be mine. I never saw a test, never saw her. I tried to reach out once, months later, but Lena had moved, changed her number, disappeared." "So you just gave up?" Her voice rose, raw and angry. "You buried it, built a life on top of a lie." "I didn't lie to you," he said defensively. "I just didn't tell you." She stood, fists clenched. "That is a lie. Every day you looked me in the eye and pretended you had nothing to hide. You let me love you, marry you, trust you, without ever giving me the full truth." Rayan stood too, desperate now. "I thought it was behind me. I thought I could protect you from it." "You weren't protecting me," she said, voice breaking. "You were protecting yourself." Silence fell again. He looked at her, truly looked, and saw the fracture in her gaze. Something sacred had broken. Finally, Maya spoke. "I need space, time. I can't even look at you right now." Rayan didn't stop her as she walked away. He just stood in the dark room, alone with the truth he had buried, and the life it had just shattered. Emotional fallout. Scene: emotional fallout. Setting: a quiet guest room in Maya and Rayan's house. Rain taps softly against the window. Maya sits curled on the bed, wrapped in a blanket, her face pale and streaked with silent tears. Her phone is switched off, the bracelet Rayan gave her now lying on the bedside table. The silence was unbearable. Not because it was loud, but because it echoed everything Maya didn't want to face. Her mind kept replaying Rayan's words, his confession. The name Lena, the child, the betrayal. a life she had never been told about, buried beneath 10 years of shared mornings, inside jokes, and whispered promises. She clutched a pillow to her chest, trying to breathe through the weight crushing her lungs. Had anything been real? Every kiss, every look, every time he said, "I love you," were they all just layers of guilt wrapped in affection, a carefully constructed illusion? She thought back to their wedding day, how he had held her hand as she walked down the aisle, the way he cried during their vows, the life they built, birthdays, trips, lazy Sundays. It all felt tainted now. A knock came at the door. "Maya, can I come in?" "Rayan." She said nothing. The door creaked open. He stood there, eyes red-rimmed, his voice gentle. "Please, just let me talk to you." "You've done enough talking," she whispered, not turning around. "And too much hiding." He stepped inside anyway, keeping his distance. "I know I've hurt you, more than I ever thought possible." She finally turned to face him, her eyes hollow. "You didn't just hurt me, Rayan. You broke something I didn't even know could be broken." He moved closer, his voice trembling. "I didn't know how to fix it back then, and by the time I met you, I thought maybe I could just move forward." "You built our marriage on lies," she said coldly. "You let me believe I knew you. And all this time you had a daughter you never once tried hard enough to find." He sank into the chair in the corner, defeated. "I was scared. Scared that if I told you, you'd leave, that you wouldn't love the version of me that made those mistakes." Tears welled in her eyes again. "You were right." A thick silence followed. Rayan's eyes dropped to the bracelet on the nightstand. "I meant it," he said quietly. "Every moment with you. It wasn't fake." "I don't know what to believe anymore," she whispered. "I look at you and I don't see my husband. I see a stranger who never trusted me with the truth." He didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. Maya turned her back to him once more. Rayan stood slowly and walked out, closing the door behind him. This time, Maya didn't cry. She simply stared out at the rain, wondering how you rebuild trust from rubble, and whether some ruins are meant to stay broken. Family in crisis. Scene: family in crisis. Setting: Rayan's family home, a formal sitting room filled with tense energy. Maya, Rayan, his parents, and Maya's younger brother Arham are gathered. Everyone talks over each other, accusations in the air, patience thin. Rayan's mother slammed her cup down. 10 years of marriage, and this is how you repay her? You should be ashamed, Rayan." "I didn't come here to be humiliated in my own parents' house," Rayan snapped. "You humiliated yourself," his father barked, "and dragged our family name down with you." Maya sat quietly on the far end of the couch, numb. She hadn't wanted this confrontation, but once the truth came out, everyone had weighed in. Aram insisted on coming with her, refusing to let her face the storm alone. "I told you something was off about him," Arham muttered, glaring at Rayan. "You always brushed it off." "But look now." "Arham, please," Maya said softly. "This isn't helping." "Oh, so we're protecting him now?" Aram shot back. "After what he did to you?" "I don't need protecting. I need space to think." Rayan turned to Maya, visibly hurt. "Why are you letting them attack me like this? It's not as simple as they're making it sound." Maya's mother-in-law leaned forward, eyes sharp. "It is simple. You had a child. You abandoned her. And you never told your wife. What part of that is complicated?" Rayan ran a hand through his hair. "You think I haven't paid for that mistake every day? I made a terrible choice, but I'm not the man I was back then." Arham scoffed. "No, you're worse. Back then you just ran away. Now you lie and pretend." Maya's voice finally rose, silencing the room. "Enough." Everyone froze. She stood slowly, addressing all of them. "I didn't bring this to you so you could tear each other apart. I needed help, not a courtroom." Her gaze fell on Rayan. "I'm trying to figure out whether our marriage has anything left to stand on, but every time someone speaks for you, I hear more lies." Rayan stepped forward. "Then let me speak. To you. Alone." Arham started to object, but Maya raised a hand. The room emptied slowly, unwillingly, leaving them both in the heavy silence. I didn't want it to come to this, Rayan said. I thought I could live with it buried, but I see now. I was only postponing the damage. You didn't just damage us, Maya said. You've pulled everyone into this, our families, our future. She looked at the framed wedding photo on the wall, smiling, perfect, untouched by truth. I need to know who you really are, she said, voice flat. Not the version everyone defends, not the version you pretend to be. Rayan's voice cracked. Then let me show you. I'm done hiding. Maya didn't respond. She walked past him, out the door, leaving behind the echo of a family torn between truth and loyalty. Choosing a path. Scene, choosing a path. Setting, the morning after the family confrontation. Maya stands by the window in the guest room, staring out at the world. Rayan is downstairs, waiting, but she feels 1,000 miles away from him. The house is too quiet now, too empty. Maya's mind raced as she tried to sort through the whirlwind of emotions that had taken over her life. The truth had been ripped open, raw and brutal, and now everything felt uncertain. Her heart ached with every thought of Rayan, of their memories together, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something essential had been lost, that no matter what happened next, their marriage would never be the same. Do you think you can ever forgive me? Rayan's voice came from behind her, quiet but filled with hope. She didn't turn to face him. I don't know. He stepped closer, his footsteps tentative. I didn't want to hurt you. I was scared, Maya. I thought if I kept it all hidden, maybe you wouldn't leave me. That I could make it all disappear. But I see now. That was a mistake. Her pulse quickened. She wanted to say something, anything that would make her feel in control of this spiraling mess. But all she could think about was the shattered trust, the lies, the years of silence. How could she go back to him, knowing what she now knew? How could she erase the weight of betrayal? Maya, he continued, his voice cracking slightly, I'll do anything. I swear to you, I've learned my lesson. But I need you to believe me. I'm not the man I was back then. She shook her head, her mind flooded with memories of their love, their laughter, their life together. How could something that had felt so right for so long now feel so fractured, so fragile? You say you're not the same man, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But can I trust that? How do I know you're telling me the truth now? How do I know that nothing else has been hidden? You've already lied to me for years. Rayan's silence was a dagger, cutting deeper than any words could. I don't know, he admitted, but what I can tell you is this. I love you. I've always loved you. And if I have to spend the rest of my life making up for this, I will. If you can't forgive me, I'll understand. But please, don't give up on us just yet. Her chest tightened. She closed her eyes, feeling the weight of his words, but also feeling the distance between them growing by the second. She had loved him with everything she had. She had trusted him with her heart. And now it felt like the ground beneath her feet had shifted, leaving her uncertain of what was real and what had been a carefully constructed illusion. Maya, Rayan's voice softened. I know you're hurting. I know I've betrayed you, and maybe you'll never be able to forgive me. But please, don't make this decision out of anger. Take your time. Think about what you really want. And if you choose to walk away, I'll respect that. She turned around to face him, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. I don't know what I want. But I do know one thing. I can't keep living like this. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. Rayan stepped forward, his hands outstretched, but she backed away. I need space, she whispered, to think, to decide if there's anything left to save. As he stood there, watching her retreat, Maya realized that the hardest part wasn't the betrayal, it was the uncertainty. The choice that lay ahead would change everything. But for now, she had to figure out if she could rebuild the trust, or if she had to let go. A new beginning or final goodbye. Scene, a new beginning or final goodbye. Setting. A few weeks after the confrontation, Maya stands in the park, a cool breeze brushing past her as the city bustles in the distance. The weight of her decision hangs heavy in the air, and the first light of dawn spills over the horizon. She's alone, but her thoughts are crowded with 1,000 possibilities. Maya stood still, feeling the chill of the morning air seep through her jacket. The park was quiet, almost eerily so, as though the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for her to make a choice. She had spent the last few weeks alone, distant from Rayan, distant from everything, and now the time had come to face the truth. There was no running from it anymore. She closed her eyes, thinking back to the life she'd shared with Rayan, the laughter, the late-night conversations, the dreams they had built together. They had been each other's world. But now the memory of their love was tangled with doubt, with betrayal. Could she really go back to that life? Could she ever trust him the same way again? She took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill her lungs. The past few weeks had given her clarity, but it had also left her with a question that couldn't be ignored. What did she want for her future? Maya! She turned at the sound of Rayan's voice, and there he was, standing a few feet away, looking as lost as she felt. His face was drawn, the guilt still hanging around him like a cloud, but his eyes, those eyes, still held that familiar warmth, the warmth that had once made her believe in there forever. "I've been looking for you," he said softly, taking a tentative step forward. "Can we talk?" Maya nodded, gesturing for him to sit beside her on the bench. The weight of the moment pressed down on both of them as they sat in silence, the past and the future colliding in their shared space. "I've spent so much time wondering if I could ever forgive you," Maya began, her voice steady but heavy. "If I could let go of everything you hid from me, everything you kept secret. And I've been angry, Rayan, so angry that you didn't trust me enough to share the truth." Rayan looked down, his hands fidgeting in his lap. "I know, and I understand why you feel that way. I should have told you from the start. I should have never hidden it." She took a moment before continuing. "I don't know if I can ever erase that pain. It's not something you can just forgive overnight." "I don't expect you to," Rayan replied, his voice raw, "but I want you to know, I am so sorry. I can't undo what I did, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you if you'll give me that chance." Maya looked out at the park, her thoughts swirling. This wasn't just about forgiveness, it was about trust, and whether she could rebuild it with him, or if she would always see the cracks beneath the surface. "Rayan, I don't know if I can ever go back to what we had," she said softly. "I don't know if I can live with the fear that something else could be hidden. But I also know that I can't live in the shadow of this forever. I have to find my own peace, with or without you." Rayan's face tightened with regret, but he didn't try to stop her. "Whatever you choose, I'll respect it." Maya stood up, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over her. The choice was hers, no one else's, and for the first time in a long while she felt like she had the power to make it. "I need time, Rayan, time to figure out who I am outside of this, outside of us." He nodded, standing as well. "I understand, and I'll be here waiting, no matter what you decide." Maya gave him a small, bittersweet smile. "Thank you." She turned and walked away, the sound of her footsteps the only thing breaking the silence. As she stepped into the future, uncertain but resolute, she knew one thing for sure. Whether she chose to rebuild or let go, it would be her decision. And that, in itself, was the beginning of something new.